We can hear it every day. The climate is getting warmer. Our planet is burning. We can expect more extreme weather, floods, droughts, hail, storms. If it goes on, the Earth will be inhabitable. The youth is pushing for politicians. Do something. You have to act now.
How dare you?
All media repeat the same. And politicians, they turn with the wind. What wouldn't they do for votes? You should trust the science. Experts are telling us how the world climate will look like in 50, 100 and more years. I remember old predictions and I'm wondering I am still alive. Where is the end of the world? Forgot to come? We are not out of resources. We do not suffer from thirst or hunger. Is something wrong with these predictions? Unfortunately, the world's most prominent specialists are rarely held accountable for their predictions. So we continue to rely on them even when their track records make clear that we should not. Climate predictions are based on climate models. Each model is as good as data entered. World Climate Report states that climate models work with interconnected nonlinear chaotic systems. Due to this fact, long-term prediction is not possible. Regarding climate, people are divided to several groups. One group says it's all nonsense, there is no climate change. Second, it is just nature, processes we cannot influence. Third, it is completely man-made problem. And next, the end of the world is coming. I shall not forget probably the largest groups, don't cares and TV watchers. They do not care, they have no opinion, they just repeat what they saw on TV, because if it was on TV, it must be true. As I was young, the summer was not so hot as now, and we had real winters with frost and lot of snow, and everything was better. Memory of old people is very selective. The past was not so ideal as in their memories. Fortunately, we have weather records. They go back about 250 years. Is it enough? The history of modern humans is more than 1,000 times longer. Fortunately, there are other methods of determining past temperatures. They dare far into the past. How do the past temperatures look like? First, this graph. It shows dramatic temperature rise in the last 40 years or so. Or this graph. It looks like we are living in the coldest times during the last 10,000 years. Or another graph. This one reveals we are living during the Ice Age. We are just lucky to live in interglacial period. A couple of millions of years ago, there was no ice on Earth. No matter which graph we look at, one is clear. There is no such thing as stable climate. Our climate is changing all the time. Is St. Peter playing dice and temperature changes according what falls on his dice? No, deniers are wrong. The climate is changing and we must understand it. There are many factors and scientists admit they do not know all the factors influencing our climate. We can compare the Earth with Moon. Temperatures on Moon vary between minus 240 centigrades and plus 123 centigrades. Let's compare it with Earth. minus 98 centigrades to plus 70 centigrades. And that are the most extreme temperatures on Earth ever, measured by satellites. Temperature range in one place is much lower. Relatively low ranges of temperatures are due to our atmosphere, water, and biosphere. Several processes cause that the Earth is not so hot and not extremely cold. Our climate is fragile balance based on energy inflow and outflow. The Earth becomes energy from our Sun, and the Earth radiates its energy back to the space. So, let's have a look at the factors. Earth gets its energy from Sun. The energy is not constant, it varies in about 11-year cycles. There are probably longer cycles as well. According to the graph, it seems the solar irradiation is on its maximum in last centuries. Is our climate just a whim of solar activity? I think we shall look at this change in proper scale. To see the graph of that size, we must move y-axis 100 meter high. So, what we see as white line is a roll of paper of A4 format width. To be more accurate, the line is too thick. If it would have the proper size, you would hardly see it. From this point of view, I would say we can eliminate solar irradiation as cause of our actual climate change. Proponents of natural change of climate also use variations in Earth's orbit as an argument. These processes have period from almost 26,000 years to more than 400,000 years. We would see changes in thousands of years, not in decades. Our actual climate change is much faster to be caused by these natural changes. What? Oh yes, I can hear very clearly. The next group is getting loud. It's greenhouse effect, emissions of carbon dioxide, combustion of fossil fuels. We must limit it or ban, otherwise we cannot save our planet. How does the greenhouse work? Solar radiation goes through the atmosphere and glass without heating it and reaches the solid surface. Here, the radiation transforms to heat. The atmosphere is getting warmer from the surface heat. Warmer air rises and outside the greenhouse is immediately replaced by cold air. Inside the greenhouse, there is no air exchange, as the air is limited by the glass casing. The temperature inside the greenhouse rises. The temperature rise is not unlimited. The air inside is cooled by regulated ventilation and by heat transfer through the glass casing. Temperature inside the greenhouse is a balance between energy gain and energy loss. In the atmosphere, we have no solid barrier to limit mixing cold and warm air. The temperature differences are balanced by wind. So, how does carbon dioxide manage it to heat the planet? This picture shows realistic composition of the atmosphere at the end of the last glacial period, some 12,000 years ago. It was the lowest carbon dioxide level ever. Next picture shows dramatic 50% rise of carbon dioxide during the Industrial Revolution. And this picture reveals further 33% rise in carbon dioxide concentration in last 100 years. That's alarming. Red points in this picture represent space in our atmosphere occupied by carbon dioxide. If the space of one point would have the size of a football, it would contain exactly one carbon dioxide molecule of this size. So I ask, how does the carbon dioxide do it, heating our planet? Does it reflect the energy back to Earth? At this concentration, it is about the same as to believe a parachute made of fishing net can save you. No, it's not the same. The fishing net would do much better. Is carbon dioxide heating faster than the other air components? Yes. Its thermal capacity is 20% lower than the average air capacity. Carbon dioxide heats faster and faster loses its heat. Does it play a significant role at this concentration? I don't think so. Seek through from the facts. So, first few basic facts. In Jurassic, carbon dioxide concentration was 5 times higher, in Devonian 10 times higher, and in Cambrian 17 times higher as today. And the Earth did not burn down, it did survive. And not only that, the Earth was full of life. How is it possible? This picture shows carbon dioxide production in the world. The highest production is in industrial centers and densely populated countries. It is the east coast of USA, Europe, India, China, and Japan. How does it correspond with satellite observations? Oops, bad surprise. Highest measured carbon dioxide concentrations are not in places with high carbon dioxide production, but in Amazonas, Equatorial Africa, and Southeast Asia. In places with almost no industry, low population density, in rainforests. Let's have a look at one more picture. It shows highest measured temperatures on Earth. Places with highest measured carbon dioxide concentration are not the hottest ones. To tell the truth, the temperature extremities do not exceed 40 centigrades there. The highest measured temperature in rainforest usually does not exceed 38 centigrades. Just compare it with Central Europe, where the record highs exceed 40 centigrades. The truth is, it is humidity what protects us against extreme temperature rise. Evaporation is energy-consuming process. It uses lots of energy. High evaporation leads to high cloud formation, and clouds reflect solar radiation. Water and water vapor have high thermal capacity. They heat up slowly and cool down slowly. Water vapor is the most important greenhouse gas, responsible for about 70% of the greenhouse effect. The effect is not heating, but stabilizing temperatures, protecting us from extreme highs or lows. Why do we measure highest carbon dioxide or concentrations in rainforests? Carbon dioxide is water-soluble gas. Its solubility drops with higher temperatures. There is much more carbon dioxide in water than in the atmosphere. Small rise of water temperature causes high increase of carbon dioxide release into atmosphere. That means increase of carbon dioxide concentration is not the cause, but the effect of temperature rise. Facts do not cease to exist because they are ignored.
How dare you?
Yes, I dare. because I do care about the future of our planet, my children and their future. I don't want scapegoat or witch hunt. I want to find true causes of our climate change. Let's start at the beginning. Our Earth gets its energy from the sun. Part of the energy is reflected by the atmosphere, and part comes to the Earth's surface. Again, part of this energy is reflected, part is used for life processes, and part is transformed to heat. Part of the heat is reflected by the atmosphere, and the rest escapes to the space. Global climate is balance between energy received and energy released. Crucial role plays our atmosphere, and in its high levels, we have our first suspect, ozone. Ozone layer protects us from high energetic ultraviolet radiation. About 50 years ago, there was first observed decrease in ozone concentration. Much later, it was accepted by mainstream science. Provisions have been taken, but the ozone hole reached gigantic masses. As children, we were playing outside without any sun protection, and we survived. Thanks to decreased ozone concentration, we get more ultraviolet radiation now. Radiation, which is not reflected or used for photosynthesis, is transformed into heat. Radiation and heat that were not there 50 years ago. Where is the study to analyze it? It happened at the same time as actual temperature rise. Is it just coincidence? In my opinion, the most important factor of our climate is air humidity. Clouds reflect 35 to 80% of solar radiation. On global scale, 26% of all solar radiation is reflected by clouds and next 19% absorbed. Totally 45%. I already mentioned the effects of high humidity in rainforests. On the other side, we have deserts. Dry air doesn't obstruct the radiation, and temperatures can climb extreme high. What influences cloud formation? Temperature, air pressure, and water vapor saturation. If you increase temperature by 1 centigrade, vapor from seas and other water surfaces doesn't increase much. But vapor from green plants increases a lot. Temperature influences cloud formation. Higher temperature dissolves clouds. Water vapor changes its state. One factor of cloud formation is often neglected: air pollution. Air pollution reflects solar radiation. That is not so important, but it has quite low thermal capacity. It quickly loses its heat and so accelerates formation of clouds. Since 1980s, the air pollutions have been significantly reduced. The result is much cleaner air and more solar radiation reaching the surface. I don't want to come back to our polluted cities, but we must take it in account. This factor is also in coincidence with temperature increase. Except industry, transport, and households, we have other pollution sources. Unpredictable sources, volcanoes. Eruption of volcano Tambora in 1815 caused in Europe and North America a year without summer. After eruption of volcano Krakatoa in 1883, 5 following years were recorded as very cold and worldwide. I think we shall not underestimate this effect. Now we come to Earth's surface. It reflects or absorbs the solar radiation. Different surfaces have different properties. I guess no one is surprised that ice and snow can reflect most of the radiation, up to 90%. What is the effect? The warmer the climate, the faster ice and snow melt. Without ice and snow, there is less reflection and the radiation transforms to more heat. It is a vicious circle. Other extremity is asphalt. It reflects just about 4% of the radiation. The rest is transformed to heat. We have highways, speedways, better and wider streets and roads. It's not a small area covered by asphalt. It must have effect on our climate balance. Surprisingly, water reflects just about 6% of solar radiation. Sunlight reaches deep into the water and gives energy to water life. More photosynthesis happens in water than on land. A lot of energy is consumed for water vapor. The water cycle in nature begins and ends in the sea. There is a lot of proof that water does not cause temperature rise. Water stabilizes the temperatures and protects us from extremities. Cities reflect just 7 to 12% of solar radiation. The rest is transformed to heat. Satellite monitoring reveals warm and overheated areas as well as areas cold or moderate. Coldest areas are water surfaces and forests, followed by parks and urban greenery. Overheated places are in historical center and old industrial grounds. Residential areas and new industrial parks constructed in last 50 or less years are hot as well. These hotspots are built on former fields. They are making the city even hotter. Cold places are forests. Coniferous forests reflect 8 to 15% and deciduous forests 15 to 18% of solar radiation. That's not much. Forests use a lot of energy for photosynthesis and especially for water vapor. One major tree uses for vapor so much energy it would be able to air condition 4 small houses. You may say we have enough forests. Forests, yes, but less and less trees. The roads used to be lined with trees. Some looked like going through green tunnel. Trees lining roads are rarer now, and roads can produce more heat. We have enough forests, but there are places on Earth where the forests rapidly disappear. Just in Amazonas, during the last 50 years, 700,000 square kilometers of rainforest disappeared. That is twice the size of Germany, or slightly more than Texas. The same happened in Africa and Southeast Asia. That's alarming. History teaches us that many great empires of the past collapsed due to climate change. They caused their own end by cutting down their forests. Now we are doing the same, just on global scale. Didn't we learn anything from the past? Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. What to say in conclusion? Global climate is changing, and people are actively helping the change. There are many factors, and I'm afraid they are multiplying the heating effect. The Earth gets more solar radiation as some 50 years ago. Industry gave us ozone hole. The result is more ultraviolet radiation reaching the Earth's surface. More radiation means more heat. Industry gave us new cleaner technologies as well. Cleaner air means more radiation reaching the air surface. More heat again. Modern lifestyle gave us better housing, cars, roads, parking lots, shopping malls, factories and storage halls. Unfortunately, on cost of losing green areas. Not only that, we are cutting trees even there, where they don't stay in way to anything. Effect of this? Just more heat. We damage rainforests just for greed. Profit for a few, damage for all. Here we get double effect. More heat from exposed soil and less water vapor due to missing trees. Less cooling effect, less cloud formation. You can call it as you will. For me, it's a crime. What are the politicians doing? Talking and talking, but just about greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide neutrality. Why? Fossil fuel consumption is measurable, and what is measurable is taxable. Except collecting taxes, politicians can set quotas or bans. Higher taxes are used to give subsidies to the poor? No way. To the rich for new, inefficient technologies, paid by the poor in form of more expensive energies, goods and services. How about scientists? They are saying the same. It's greenhouse effect. We should remember one. The science is underfinanced. Scientists are dependent on subsidies and publishing activities. Media and subsidies are controlled by a small group of people. The result is only those studies are published which comply with the assignment. And the assignment is to spread fear. Fear is power instrument. Scared people are pushing, do something. They are ready to pay more taxes and limit their own freedom. That's what politicians are waiting for. Their pleasure level reaches the top. Their power rises. They can collect more money, will decide on subsidies, will set quotas and bans. Therefore, they decided to be politicians, to have power over other people. At the end, I would like to present one example of new green technology. It shows thermal image of one photovoltaic power plant in Germany. Compared to the surrounding field, the solar panels are much warmer, more than 10 centigrades warmer. The area covers several hectares, and it is just one power plant. There are more than 10,000 such power plants in Germany and countless other in the world. They save some coal, gas or oil, but produce a lot of heat. And the energy production is subsidized. They do it to save our climate. Are they? To err is human, but to persist in the mistake is diabolical. My solution is simple. We shall strictly protect our green areas, plant trees wherever it is possible, and divide fields by bushes into smaller parts. We must protect our water sources and keep water in our landscape. Water alone is responsible for temperature stabilization. It is our only weapon against the climate change. Or we can wait for the next big volcano eruption. Or that the number 7 falls on St. Peter's dice, which means ideal and stable weather until the end of times. Amen.